Hello everyone, I make the goofs.
And I laugh at them, and this is Shelf Indulgence.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the December episode of Shelf Indulgence, an episode that's going to be a little different from the rest of ours, as it's our year-end review.
Yeah, we thought instead of doing a new topic, we would go back and look at the other episodes that we've done this year, because we've had quite a few topics and we've really enjoyed doing them.
We've read quite a few books too that I think Vic and I would normally not have read had it not been for Shelf Indulgence. I know, Vic, you've mentioned before that Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates is one of the books that you found was completely out of your genre.
Yeah, definitely. And it was a fantastic book. I'm really glad I got to get exposed to it, because I probably would never have made time to read it in my everyday life, but I got the chance to try something new, and it was very well written. But I did like that book, but definitely wasn't one of my favorites that we read that was new, because I also had some others that I was exposed to that I didn't think I would ever have time to read or would have. I know Codename Verity was a fantastic book that I read just for this, and it's a historical novel. So I usually read fantasy sci-fi, and that's a bit outside of my genre. So I'm glad that I read it because it was fantastic, and now I plan to read all of the rest of her books too.
And since we're talking about our favorite ones that we read, Mirage by Samaya Dowd was probably one of my favorites, just because her world building and the way she presents her characters was so intriguing and so attention grabbing. Yes. That I really felt like it was vastly different from some of the other books that we read this year.
Yeah, I had read that on vacation last year, which is why I suggested it as one of the ones that we read for this, because I have never seen world building of that type before. It was amazing to be able to kind of experience a new YA book that was actually very unique.
Now, Vic, your other favorite that you told me about was actually a pretty was an older book, but for you was a new read.
Yes, I had been planning to read the Percy Jackson series for a while, but just never got around to it. I have about 1,000 books on my to-be-read list. So I finally got the chance to read it because we were doing this, and after we read it for that episode, I ended up going on and reading the rest of the series, the first series, because it was very good. He's a great writer, and I've always been interested in Greek mythology, so Percy Jackson just really hit that for me. So that one was a bit more in my usual realm.
And Percy Jackson is probably one of my top favorite books that I've ever read, so I was really excited to get you into it and get you to experience everything that I kind of got to feel a while ago. It kind of resurfaced a lot of those old feelings for the books. I will say one of the, outside of our books, one of the graphic novels that we read was Ghosted in LA by Sina Grace. And I absolutely love that graphic novel. I think the concept of it is so interesting and so original. You have this girl that's in college, which is a subject that we rarely get in YA, outside of, you know, all the fantasy and different
yeah, we so rarely get books from that 18 to 23 age range, especially ones that are like for college kids. So it's a fantasy, but it's also kind of a slice of life, and it hits a different genre, some different notes that are very unique as well. I think a lot of the books that we liked have in common that even if like Percy Jackson's been around for a while, there are a lot of people who have done similar things now, but at the time it was very original. So all of these kind of introduce new things to their genres and the things that they were doing.
Well, and with Ghosted, it added that paranormal aspect where the ghosts were so different from what you would see in most paranormal graphic novels that they were interacting in a slice of life graphic novel was very original, very entertaining, and seeing those interactions was a lot of fun in reading it.
Oh, yes.
I know that we have some favorite books, and I know that there are some books that we talk about more than others, but we also have some favorite moments throughout the show that Vic and I, like in producing the show, we've just fallen in love with the stuff that we've been doing. And I think one of the biggest favorite moments for the two of us has been when we drew Tark Tent and Tom, our drawings that we did for our special episode, for our LibraryCon episode.
I think that the LibraryCon episode was my favorite episode to shoot in general. It was just really fun. It was different. We did something new, and you pulling out that name Tark Tent was just amazing. I nothing could compare to seeing him in person on our episode.
I don't know. I found Tom, our Tom anime boy. I found him very appealing. I loved when you were just like, his name's Tom. It's a very anime name.
It's a very anime name.
And it was such a fun experience. The environment where we filmed that in was such a fun environment to be in. And I think that's one that I'm going to remember for quite some time.
Oh, yes.
But outside of that, right after that, well, kind of right before that and right after that, we talked about fandoms. And that was in our fandom part 1 and part 2 episodes. And what I really love about that moment is that we got to talk about fandom in a positive light, in a way that it doesn't usually get talked about. I don't think a lot of times people look at fandoms and think about the originality and the creativity that goes into those fandoms and how dedicated those fans can be.
Yes, being able to talk about fan fiction and fan art in a legitimate setting, in a library, it is amazing because they are foundational for a lot of people's interactions with media and for a lot of people's interactions with their original writing later on. There are a lot of people who only write fan fiction, but there are also a lot of people who get their start in fan fiction or in fan art, who like something so much that they create something for it, and that creates a new love of creation in them permanently.
Well, and it allows that creation to grow.
Yes.
It allows it to be in an environment where it's encouraged to grow. And I think that's really cool that we got to talk about that in a way that was positive.
Yes.
But those are just 2 of our favorite moments. I have put together for us to view together as a family some of our favorite moments throughout the many different episodes.
A little montage.
A little montage. So please enjoy as you watch our little favorite moments.
Yes.
Hello everyone, I'm Katie.
And I'm Vic.
And we watched so many movies for you guys. So it was kind of a very meta moment.
Exactly.
Where
So if you take out parts of the plot, if you take out things that are really the core experiences those characters have, so for example, Elizabeth rejecting Darcy is always going to have to be in that movie, because if that's not there, that doesn't let any of the rest of the movie happen.
it takes away the pride.
Exactly.
Okay, all of us are unique and different, and that means that my art can be bad.
And that's not the only fandom that is interested in that. I mean, you have Brandon Sanderson.
Honestly, Hybrid is my favorite of the world building. I just really like the idea that there is something that I can't see and something could happen that would let me see it. And it's very engaging for me because there are parts where I can be like, I relate to this because it is a part of the rules that I understand, but there's a possibility of more.
You really enjoy that veil over your eyes kind of.
Yes, absolutely. What you working on there, Vic?
I struggled with what I'm doing here. I'm pretty sure I've already done something wrong.
You have the Trekkies to thank for Comic-Con, is all I'm saying. I think one of the big examples of that was Jurassic Park, the book by Michael Crichton, where
They're didn't erase. I'm going to cheat. There we go. Look at that
cheated.
little open.
It's always fun to see someone's eyes light up when they're talking about a subject that they're really into, whether or not they're transformative or curatorial within the fandom. Because if you're one and the other person is the other, it's a lot more interesting. Because like you said, you're getting to consume it in a more interesting and engaging way than if you just went and looked at the wiki.
Exactly.
While I try and avoid working on the eyes at all costs,
Oh, I always love your hair.
yeah, the hair is my favorite part, which is why I'm putting so much detail into it.
Actually, the first time fandom is used is in reference to baseball because it came from the baseball slang term fan, and then they combined that with kingdom, and so it was a fandom. And that was actually first used in a 1903 Cincinnati Enquirer article, which is pretty cool because it happened right here. And the actual title for that article was Fandom Puzzled Over Johnsonian Statements.
And it was just in reference to some plays that had been made during the game for the Cincinnati Reds. And it's very interesting when we were researching that we were like, oh, in the Cincinnati Choir? Are you sure? What a coincidence.
Right here, right next to us.
Exactly. My favorite part is the lips.
I always love your lips. They're always so great. And it is that Artemis Fowl specifically is a very hard thing to move over because at his core, Artemis is a villain to many people. Even in the first book especially, he is one of the villains of the story, even though he's also the protagonist. So it's hard to put out media that has a villain as your main character, even if he does have redemption arcs, even if he does do good things. So I can see why they made the change to a little bit more sporty, a little bit more worldly, just a little bit more caring about the people around him, because that's someone that the viewers are more likely to empathize with.
But that inherently made it a different movie.
It did. When you change the main character that much, you are looking at a different story. So it could be good, it could be bad, it doesn't matter, it just is different.
So what would you say you were, Vic? Are you curatorial? Are you transformative?
Definitely transformative.
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty transformative too. So, Vic, what do you think of my? You know what? I'm going to name him. His name is going to be.
Oh, perfect. Tark Tent. I didn't recognize him without the glasses.
Do we want to talk about what you've made for us?
I've made a boy. I've definitely made a boy.
You have made a boy, yes.
Yep. I did erase this time.
I
erased
noticed.
my little lead lines, so this time you have a little bit more of a view of his face.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I feel like I think I'm just gonna name him
Uh-huh.
Tom.
Ah, I
Tom.
love Tom.
This is Tom the anime boy.
Very traditional anime name there is Tom.
I know, I pulled from the deepest wells of my anime knowledge.
So thank you guys so much for watching our, in my case, terrible drawing skills.
In both cases, wonderful, wonderful drawing skills.
So I'm so glad we got to create those moments for you guys this year, and I actually can't wait to create more moments next year. We have so much planned, but before we get to that, Vic and I kind of want to talk to you about our process for creating these videos for you, or our process with non-process kind of thrown in.
I mean, we have a very fluid way of putting together these episodes.
That's a very nice way of putting it. Fluid.
It's a nice way, but in order to really get into the zone, into creating these, we really have to make ourselves enjoy it. We have to enjoy doing this in order to give all of you a better product. So it is kind of fluid. It is kind of a non-process as we get our feet under us.
Well, and when we're creating the episodes, when we're sitting down and doing our plans for the episodes, we always want to make sure it's relevant to today. We don't want to do something that's kind of outdated and doesn't seem interesting. And like Vic said, we want to make it fun for the two of us, because if it's not fun, our personalities aren't going to come through for you guys. And we want it to be interesting. You know, there are a lot of topics out there that I think a lot of literary shows might cover, but they're not always interesting to you guys. I think some of our best content comes from things that are so interesting to us that we really want to share with you guys, and that we want you to feel interested in too. So it's not just a literary world that we're diving into. It's aspects of that world that don't get discussed as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we're not having fun, then we can't make you have fun. But we also have to make things that are doable. So we have to be able to produce them here and actually read the books that we need to read and watch the things we need to watch. And like in the manga episode, we have to be able to do whatever task we've set out for ourselves to whatever ability level that we have, which is always interesting.
Or non-ability, as it were, in that episode.
All the ability. I loved that episode.
That was such a good episode.
Yes.
But, you know, apart from it being doable and it being relevant and it being fun, we also want to make sure that the books that we are selecting for our show are diverse in nature, and not just in content, but by authors too. We want to make sure we're not picking the same authors over and over and over again. Yes. Vic and I kind of got into a rut right at the beginning there, because both of us have some favorite authors. And of course you want to share those with people, and you want it to be you know, you want other people to love your favorite authors. So you might have noticed in the first few episodes that Vic and I mentioned Tamara Pierce a lot.
And then Brandon Sanderson, who is my favorite author. I have to admit that. But we want to be able to highlight other authors and other books and other creations, especially newer ones or less well-known books like Mirage, which is one of my favorite books and has become one of Katie's favorite from this.
Absolutely.
Is not a very well-known title. It's just a YA book that was written and put out and got some hype, but wasn't like top 100, but it's so good. And so being able to find those titles and show them to you, it is really part of why we're doing this.
Well, and we also want it to be diverse in how we're discussing the topic. So, for instance, in our world building episode, we mentioned N.K. Jemisin, which is a fantastic world building author. That's really what she's known for. She does such a good job of creating a world that you truly can see that she put so much time and effort into. But that's a fantasy-based book series that she does. And normally fantasy is very in world building. That's kind of a big part of that genre. But we also wanted to explore the genres that don't get talked about for world building as much, which is why we mentioned some of the other books in that series. So when we're choosing the topic, the diversity that we want to create is not just in the books that we're discussing, but also in the genres that we're discussing for that topic and the authors that we're discussing. Ta-Nehisi Coates was one that, like Vic mentioned earlier, neither of us would have picked up without Shelf Indulgence. And now that we have picked it up, it was one of the most interesting books that we had read for Shelf Indulgence.
Because, I mean, the world building there, that is like a historical fantasy, I guess. And the way that he put together the historical aspect and weaving in the fantasy aspect and weaving it into actual events that have happened and people was just brilliant. And if you just went for straight sci-fi, straight fantasy, without introducing other things, then we never would have approached that book, because it seems like it's just based in a world that exists. But even when you are, we've discussed this, even when you're in a regular world, you have to do world building. And so we wanted to introduce those different aspects. We like looking at our topics from a different point of view than maybe you would usually do so. And world building is the best example of that for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Now, Vic mentioned earlier the fluidity of our process. And with that fluidity often comes, how should I put it, bloopers. And Vic and I, usually when we are recording our episodes, we have a very long lead up to actually starting the episode, because we want to be in the mindset for the episode that creates a fun environment. And because of that, oftentimes there can be some bloopers. And so we wanted to put together for you guys some bloopers that were not included in the episode, that kind of show off some behind the scenes, some of our process.
Yep, we'll see some interesting ones for sure. We've had some interesting moments behind the camera.
I'm very excited for a couple of these, so please enjoy.
I'm the editor. Editor, take this all out.
I'm actually preparing you for the start this time instead of jumping right into it.
Oh, that's a novel experience.
On 1, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, wait.
Hello, everyone. My name's Katie.
And my name's Vic.
And I can see you. And this is Shelf Indulgence. Can you please say Shelf Indulgence? I can't do it.
Hello, everyone. I make the goose.
And I laugh at them, and this is Shelf Indulgence.
Do 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 do. That was cute. Do that more.
Okay.
No.
I have no shame in my love for Homestuck. The hair is just getting flatter and flatter as we go.
Remains huge. Just like it's
Okay, what are we doing? What are we doing?
No.
I have to see everything.
I don't like proclaiming that I'm loud.
Okay. Valid.
Hi, my name's Katie.
no.
Oh. Hello, everyone. My name's Katie.
And my name's Vic, and this is Shelf Indulgence.
Nope. You messed it up.
Yes, because I can't see. I can see you, but I can only see, like, here.
It's because I'm short, is what they're saying.
You're saying I'm short.
I am also short. We're, like, the same height.
You're taller than me!
We're very similar heights.
Just start you.
What can you see of me?
The top of your head.
You notice how I move my whole face when I wink?
I don't know if I can wink.
What?
What if I, like, wink at you with my right eye?
Okay.
I don't actually think I can do that. I don't know if I can do
Well,
it.
just wink with whatever.
It feels more awkward the longer I wait. Hey.
Forgetting about that entirely and forever, we're going to move forward into our plans for next year.
Yeah, Vic and I have really been talking about what we want to produce for next year, and we have some great ideas that are being planned right now. One of them coming up in January is our most anticipated books of 2021. What that's going to entail are some debut authors, and Vic and I have already read some amazing stories that I can't wait to tell you guys about.
Yes, there's some great things coming out next year, some great authors putting out new material that's original and new, and I'm so looking forward to showing them to you.
And if you guys stick around long enough, there's going to be a bunch of food episodes because I think Vic and I were a little hungry in planning those episodes. So we have that to look forward to next year. We also have a short story episode that's going to be premiering next year. And that is because in January, for the month of January, we have a short story contest that is happening.
Yeah, it's the entirety of January, so the 1st through the 31st, you can put in submissions, and we are really hoping to be able to have some cool short stories entered, and then we can talk about that while we talk about the short stories that have been published, because there are a ton of short stories that are fantastic. You know, I read horror pretty exclusively as short stories, and they are kind of overlooked in the fiction section, so it'll be good to highlight them for a while.
It's nice to get a little look into short stories where the worlds are built so quickly. I really enjoy them, so I can't wait to talk to you guys more about that. But Vic and I really want to thank you for allowing us to make this content for you. I think it's one of the things Vic and I enjoy most about our job is getting to create this show for you. So thank you guys so much. And if you want to see more of our episodes that you missed this year, or maybe you saw something in the montages that you want to see, you can go to our website, which is clermontlibrary.org, or you can check us out on YouTube and look at all of our videos there.
Yep. And you can also look at the short story contest there, sign up, and put in any submissions.
If you guys have any favorite moments that you want to tell us about, please comment in the comments below. Let us know. And I guess we'll see you guys next year.
Yep, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm Katie.
And I'm Vic, and this has been Shelf Indulgence.